for setting it all up, Catherine. So, yeah, my name is Andy Baldwin. I'm with Carollo. I'm the lead for the Digital Water Group that we've formed to pursue a lot of this wonderful technology in our industry and clearly to support asset management. So great to be with you guys and looking forward to today.
Fantastic. Good to see you. All right, I'm going to go next on my what I see here on my screen. I'm going to call now Mike Zachariah. Hopefully I said that right.
You did perfectly, Catherine. Thank you. I'm Mike Zachariah with West Yost Associates in our Davis office. Ari, it's good to see you again. It's been a year or two. I currently lead the asset management program for the company. I work with Ann and Bailey and quite a few others, bringing asset management to our clients, helping everyone save money as much as we can. I've been a civil engineer for a little over 30 years, about 35 years, strong experience in program development, setting up CMMS, getting business processes identified so that your CMMS can support you the way you need it to be supported, and then bringing asset management, risk, and failure analysis to fruition so data can be used successfully. So good to be here.
Welcome. Good to have you too.
Thank you.
All right. See who I have next here in my tiles. And just WT. Let me see what that is. William, and I'm just kind of try, and I hope I don't offend anyone. William Swing. If I say
no
that
worries,
correct.
no worries. My name is William Chen. I'm with the San Diego County Water Authority, and I work under Martin in the asset management group.
Fantastic. Welcome. Good to see you. All right. Next, I see here. Well, Callum Buckler.
Hello, Catherine. Hello. I just sent you all a message in the chat. Thank you for checking in on that recording. It's all recording now, so you should have the notification to see. I'm Digital Services Officer here at the IAM, so helping from the from the office our side with facilitating the event. And Catherine, I'll be in further correspondence with you regarding events in future down the line. And look forward to the meeting. Okay.
I just want to make sure, yeah, Callum, welcome and nice to finally talking to you, at least virtually. You've been superb helping. Oh, there you are now, putting
Hello.
a face to the name. Hi, hey. So for everyone, he's our at least supporting, with all the logistics and communications, trying to help some of you guys that were not able to reset passwords or whatnot. But he's our person to go. Very willing, even though there's a big time zone difference between where he's at and where we are. But welcome. Thank you so much for your help. And yeah, we'll talk later on the recording piece because I know a few people have asked how to access that, and we can get into that after I go and walk us through the agenda. But great to see you.
Good to see you
and
too.
Good morning because it's 9:42 here our time.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Next, I see here. Let's see, Jenna Labordo.
Hi, I'm Jenna Labordo. I'm a project engineer at Hope Consulting. And I deal with water, wastewater, and stormwater.
Great. Welcome and good to have you here. Okay, next is I have here Dave Russell.
Hi, I'm Dave Russell. I'm founder of a company called PICA, Pipeline Inspection and Condition Analysis, based in Western Canada, where we have almost no snow left. Very thankful that I've been invited to this meeting, and nice to meet you all.
Likewise, nice to meet you,
Very.
Dave. Nice to meet you. Okay, I have here next Christopher O'Connor.
Hi, my name is Chris O'Connor. I'm with West Yost Associates. I've been working a lot with Mike, Ann, and Bailey on some condition assessment, asset management, and risk assessment tasks.
Very good. Welcome. Good to have you. I see here next. Yeah, perfect. Eric Akiyoshi, you're next. If you can give us a quick intro, that's what we're doing before we get started with the agenda.
Hi, I'm Eric Akiyoshi. I work with the Irvine Ranch Water District. I'm the engineering manager of planning and GIS there, and We are in the midst of implementing what we call CIP asset management. It's risk-based prioritization of 5-year repair, rehab, and refurbishment of tanks, pump stations, lift stations, and wells in our system. So that's kind of where we're at, and it's good to see a number of you, including Andy and Ann, that I know from other spheres of life. Caddy, good to see you too.
Great to see you this morning. Thank you, Eric. Okay, who I see next is Thomas Meyer.
Hi, I'm Tom Myers. I serve with Amy on the executive board of the IAM USA chapter. Specifically, I'm responsible for membership. So if you have any questions about becoming a member, moving up through the membership ranks, the benefits you get from being a member, please reach out. I'd be glad to help. And thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being with us today. Okay, so I have next Jack Sprados.
Hello, I'm Jacques Brados. I've been with Black and Beach for about 6 years and blessed to be able to contribute to the meeting today. I am in Phoenix, Arizona, because my previous employer was the city of Glendale, Arizona, where I was in their water department as their technology manager. And I am ex-Navy Desert Storm veteran, so anybody that's on the call that's ex-military, thank you for your service. And I'll be presenting later today.
Yes, you will be. All right, I have next is let's see, Anton. I don't say his name.
I'm Anton. Recently retired from SoCal Gas 2 weeks ago. In fact, I'm now with UDC. I was involved in setting up the asset management program for SoCal Gas. So it's really from an interest point of view that I'm here.
Welcome, good to have you. I have next here, let's see, Christopher Aronitz.
Hi, my name's Christopher Aronitz here. I'm based in San Diego. I work for Pure Technologies Xylem. My background's primarily in condition assessment for pipelines. So I'm happy to be here.
Welcome, good to have you. Okay, next I have, and I apologize, I'm not sure. I see 3 names here. Said Nouri Bishari. Hopefully.
Oh, you're good. You're good with my name. Thank you very much. Yes. Yes, my name is Said Nouri Bishari. I'm with the City of Oceanside in San Diego County. I'm a GIS manager, a GIS supervisor there. So we are partly responsible for the CMMS, administrating and providing the information and supporting the GIS part of the CMMS in the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you. So let's see, because my screen, wow, we have a lot of participants. So I will apologize ahead of time if I'm missing someone else, but on that, now I have to expand my screen to see who's next, because now I just see the plus 26 people. So I see here Soma Badra.
Hi, yes, I just joined. I'm Soma, I'm the CEO of Proteus Consulting. We are a small business working in San Diego County, and we, among many things we do asset management as well, and we work with the local municipalities and helping out all the, in CMMS as well as planning for asset management. And Susan and I presented last time, last year, and it seems like a long time back right now with COVID and everything. So great to be back, seeing your faces here. So lovely.
Thank you
Cheers.
so much. I see next Brian Hong.
Yes, good morning. My name is Brian Hong. I'm a senior engineer with Mount Miguel Water District. I help work with the capital improvement program here at the district, and one of our projects, we're actually working with Black and Beach on a future condition assessment on one of our transmission mains. So yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
Good to have you. Thank you for being here. Christopher McGrath.
Good morning. Christopher McGrath. I'm manager of asset management and programs for the Port of San Diego with a long career here in San Diego doing planning, design, construction, and asset management as well as program development. So glad to be here.
Good to see you. Okay, so I see next here, Haritha Bendra.
Hello everyone, I'm Haritha Vendra, GIS Manager at TCSA Inc. We specialize in providing GIS solutions to water and wastewater agencies. And I had been participating in the meetings before, driving down when it was in San Diego. This is the first time I'm joined the virtual meeting.
Well, good to see you virtually. Thank you for joining us. Jenna Abordo.
Hi, this is Janelle Bora. I'm a project engineer at Hope Consulting. I think I actually got me last time, so earlier. So.
Okay, sorry about that. Just there's so many people popping in now, making sure I cover everyone. Jamie Eubanks. Hopefully I said that right.
Yeah, that's correct. Jamie Eubanks. I'm the Deputy Director of Information Systems for the City of Escondido in San Diego, California. Joined today because you guys had an open availability, and my employee Monica Wallace, I think, is a member of your organization, recommended I check it out. So yeah, looking forward to seeing the presentations.
Great, welcome. Good to have you here. Maria Chow.
Hi everyone. I was with a consulting company before, and that's when I used to drive down to San Diego as well. But now I'm with the City of Palmdale, helping them implement asset management, initially with Lucy, and getting that up and running. It's nice to see you, those that I've met before.
Great having you. Thank you. Michael Hindle.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Michael Hindle, Engineering Manager for the CIP program for Padre Dam Municipal Water District. This is my first IAM meeting. Interested in attending more meetings and learning more about asset management. Padre Dam, we're currently focused on doing condition assessment of potable water pipelines, but we certainly have opportunity to grow and leverage asset management. Good to be here.
Great to have you, Michael. Thank you for joining us today. Mohamed Ibrahim. Mohamed. Okay, let's move to the next one. Maybe sounds like it looks like he's on hold. Mitchell Robinson.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mitch Robinson. I work at Irvine Ranch Water District in the Planning Engineering Department. And this would be my second meeting. So looking forward to hearing and seeing the presentation.
Good morning. Good to see you, Mitch.
Good to see you too.
Okay. Let's see who do I have. I have here next Eric Rubalcaba.
Good morning, everyone. Eric Rubalcaba with the San Diego County Water Authority. I'm a principal asset management specialist, and we do a lot of condition assessment and just started getting into developing our risk models. So glad to be here.
Good to have you. Okay, we're almost getting there, guys. Let's see. Sauda Singh. Hopefully I said that right. No apologies.
You said it correct. That's fine. So basically, I work as a senior engineer with Stantec International, and the reason I joined this webinar is because I'm working for a client wherein I'm required to devise asset management strategies and plans for the recycled water. So looking forward for this presentation. Thanks. Cheers.
Great. Yeah, thank you for joining us. Todd, Todd, I apologize. I am going to try my best. Todd Dimitrician. I'm so sorry. I tried.
Yeah, no problem. You wouldn't be the first by any stretch. Demet is how you say that. Yeah, Todd Dimitrician. I'm engineering manager at Molten Gale Water District. We're a retail agency serving about 170,000 customers in Southern Orange County, California. I oversee the district's capital improvement program, which has a number of asset management functions. We've actually been to a few of these IAM meetings in the past, and we have a few staff attending today. Happy to be here, keeping tabs on current goings on in the world of asset management. So,
Fantastic. Thank you for joining.
Sure.
Next, I have William Swin.
Yeah, I already introduced myself. I'm William with the Water Authority.
We're almost there. Now, last we have here Jude Warren. Hopefully it's the last person if I missed anyone.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, it's Judd Warren. I've worked with some of the people on the call here in the past. It's good to see you guys' faces. It's been a while. But I'm very interested in being more active. I've joined Weston Solutions in Carlsbad, and we're developing our water wastewater engineering practice here. And I've worked in all different facets of this industry. So just looking to learn. Thank you.
Great. No, thank you for joining us this morning. I think I have everyone. If I miss anybody, please feel free to jump in now and just provide a quick intro. But I think I hopefully I cover everyone. But if not, please go ahead and introduce yourself. Oh,
this is Mead Malik. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
It's Mead Maliki with GTAC Rugged Mobile Computers. I've participated in IAM for a couple years, at least a few years. So excited to see what's going on. I know it's been a bit of a lull with the whole COVID thing. But yeah, always my focus is specifically on mobile component of asset management. I worked in consulting side for about 15 years and on mobile asset management deployments, but now I'm on a little bit of the rugged hardware side, and again, just very interested in keeping up to speed on stuff.
Great. Who wants to go next? Andy? Maybe?
Yeah.
Oh,
Can I
yeah,
go?
Andy.
I'll go.
Yeah, go ahead, Andy.
Okay, thanks. I'm Andy Correo. In my paying job, I'm a discipline leader for CDM Smith here in Southern California. In my volunteer job, I chair the Water Main Condition Assessment Committee for AWWA. So anything related to water and pressure pipes is my specialty, and our committee is doing a lot of really good things, advancing the industry with water main assessments. So thanks for letting me join.
Absolutely. Good to see you. Clinton, do you want to go next?
Oh, yeah. Clinton McAdams, a civil engineer at Black and Veatch. So I actually know the IAM meetings through Caddy. She got me to join, and then I've been enjoying them so far. You know, always great topics and such. And my core background is condition assessment, facilities, pipelines for various water system types, and trying to use that data to help with implementations, program developments, and such. To best result for the best knowledge.
Great. Well, good to see you, Clinton. Did we miss anyone else before we get started with our agenda?
I'll go real quick. Morning, everyone. I'm Allison Rubichanek. I work for Hope Consulting out of San Diego, and I work closely with Ari Eldon on our condition assessment projects. So this is my first IAM meeting, and I'm excited to hear the presentations today.
Great. Now we're excited to have you guys. And for many of you, I see new faces here, new names. So welcome to everyone. Do we go ahead and start with the agenda, or is anybody else that needs to provide an introduction? Going once, going twice? Okay. So we'll begin with our presentation. Our first presentation will be given by Jacques on asset management cybersecurity from 10 to 10:30. That will include his presentation. And I will just ask everybody to please mute excuse me, your microphones. And if you have questions, just use the buttons to raise your hand, or make sure you can type your questions in the chat. That way we allow the presenter to cover his presentation, and then we can go into the Q&A. And then we'll continue with Ari, who's going to provide our second presentation for our meeting this morning on asset management approach to field condition assessment, case studies, and lessons learned. After that, he will have a time for Q&A, and we'll try to target to end the meeting hopefully by 11, or if not before that. So before we go ahead with that, a few announcements that I'd like to share. We already went over who are the branch leaders. Myself and Martin, who is not able to be here with us this morning. He's got some conflicts, but just to refresh, branch goals, right? To allow many of us asset management practitioners here in our region in Southern California the opportunity to network with others in the field across all sectors, right? Share asset management experience. We're going to do that today with our presenters. We also want to grow and extend knowledge, implementing good practices. We hear from these presenters, they've done these, they have the experience, and we get the opportunity to hear from them, lessons learned. We will get into the Q&A that allows opportunity to many of us to ask questions and keep growing that level of the knowledge that we will look for in these groups. Okay, so we are very lucky today because we have Amy, who's the chair with the Institute of Asset Management, as she provide a quick, very quick, briefly introduction. But I'm gonna let her now. I'm gonna just open your mic and please share what you have to do. We haven't really had the luck to have a chair, so this is the first time we have one in our San Diego branch meeting. So welcome, Amy.
There we go. I had to unmute myself and also set it up so I could see you guys. All right. So thanks for having me in your meeting today. It's really great to see everybody. I love to see big groups of branches, and especially across multiple sectors. So as I said, I'm Amy Lindblom, the chair for the USA chapter. I've been with the IAM since about 2014. I started the San Francisco Bay Area branch back then, and I've since moved up to Seattle. I just wanted to go through a few things today, give you a little bit of an overview of the chapter, the benefits you have available to you as a member. And you heard from Tom Myers earlier. He's our director supporting you, our members. So if you have any questions about, want to dig into any of the benefits you have available to you, he's the right guy to talk to. So like I said, I'll just give a quick snapshot, talk about the different member levels, the benefits, some upcoming events, and importantly, how to sign up and make sure that you're getting, staying in the loop on everything that's going on with the IAM. So yeah, this USA chapter has been in place since 2013, and since then we've grown quite a bit. We have 13 branches right now across the country, including yourselves. We also have some really active Next Gen and Women in Asset Management groups. So if you're not familiar, Next Gen is really targeted to folks who are either new in asset management or new in their career in general. And it's set up to really be, offer support and guidance and mentorship to folks who are new in asset management. Similarly, the Women in Asset Management group is structured to provide similar support, to women in the asset management community, really making sure that our community is diverse and that everybody feels supported and included, because we make better decisions when we're diverse. We have over 500 members in the US, and that's continuing to grow. So as far as member levels, there are 4 membership levels: student, associate, member, and fellow. The member and fellow designations are, of course, they're member groupings, but they're also a reflection of the number of years of experience you have in asset management. So it's a little bit of like an accreditation, if you will. So if you're interested in getting the MIAM or the FIAM after, in the alphabet soup after your name, definitely reach out to us. We can help talk you through what that looks like, what that process is like. It's pretty straightforward. As far as member benefits, of course, you get discounts on books, publications, like the subject-specific guides. I use those a lot in my day job. You also get discounts to conferences and events. We have Assets Magazine, which includes a lot of really interesting stories from around the world. What's going on in asset management? What are some really interesting things that folks are working on? And you, of course, get lots of information about upcoming events and opportunities to contribute to knowledge, which I'll get into more here in just a bit. So you guys know, of course, we are literally having this meeting right now, but as far as wanted to give you guys a snapshot of some of the other upcoming meetings we have in the USA chapter. One of the silver linings of the pandemic is that we can go to meetings anywhere around the world from our home or from our office. And so just wanted to make you all aware, yesterday I was in New York for their branch meeting. It was fantastic. So tomorrow there's a Women in Asset Management virtual meet and greet. It's scheduled to be an evening event, so kind of like a happy hour, really informal. So if you can join for that, everybody's welcome, not just women. Colorado branch has their spring meeting coming up here in April. The New England branch, which was formerly our Boston branch, and I think I saw Sati on the line earlier. He's one of the co-chairs for the New England branch. They've been having some really interesting conversations in their branch meetings. And of course, up here in the Pacific Northwest, we have meetings every quarter. So if you can reach any of these meetings, if you can find time for them, there's lots of really good information being shared and opportunities to network. Also wanted to flag that we have another a webinar coming up. This is another opportunity for us to kind of learn about some of what's going on in the asset management community. So in this next webinar, we're going to be talking about the Global Forum on Maintenance and Asset Management, that framework for maintenance. Now, what is it? How do you use it? How do you apply it in a practical sense? So if you got time for that, March 23rd, we'd love to see you there. And all of these are free, right? So all you have to do is log on to the IAM website, register for the event, and you're good to go. Also wanted to flag that we are still planning our North America conference. That's a joint effort between our Canadian chapter and the US chapter. That's going to be in October. So that's right now we're planning on it being a hybrid event, physical or in person and virtual. So if you're able to make it to Denver in October, we'd love to see you there. And very shortly, the conference committee is working on identifying the themes for that conference. And then shortly thereafter, we'll be putting out a call for papers for the conference. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And if your company is interested in sponsoring any part of the conference, feel free to reach out to me and I'll get you in touch with the right folks to get that going. Just real quick, want to make sure that you guys know how to get through the system and set up your preferences so that you're getting all of the notifications and communications that you want to see. So when you log on to the IAM, you want to click on My Preferences, and from there you can select what you want to hear about and what you don't want to hear about. And also selecting the areas and the chapters and branches that you want to hear things from, right? So if you want to hear things from the chapter level at the US, you want to click that. If you want to hear things from just one branch, you select that. If you want to hear things from all the branches, you can select all the branches. It's totally up to you. I would just say whatever you select, just make sure you hit the update button at the bottom of the page after you make all your selections so it saves it. Otherwise, yeah, none of those changes will be saved. That's really easy. Now, just wanted to talk a little bit about I mentioned earlier opportunities to volunteer and contribute to the body of knowledge, right? So you guys all know this. The asset management we're learning more every day, and we're getting to a point where we're able to compare and share best practices across sectors in a way that we haven't before, at least not to date. So, and the IAM is very much wanting to capture all of that rich knowledge and experience that we have, and making sure that we are contributing to that from the U.S. perspective, because we definitely have a different approach from some other countries. So if you're at all interested in contributing to that body of knowledge, we have a volunteer portal now set up on the IAM website, and that web address is here at the bottom. So really, if you're interested in any of the things that are listed in here as far as knowledge development or member services, you want to participate on a committee, those volunteer opportunities are also available through the volunteer portal. If you want to talk a little bit more about any of these things, feel free to reach out to me, or you can just, our generic chapter email is there at the bottom. Feel free to ping us there. We really understand that we are a body of professionals, and the way that we learn and grow is through each other's shared experience. And so definitely would appreciate any, you guys sharing all the knowledge and good stuff that you have going. So that's pretty much it. That's my my quick little spiel. And Yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me. And Tom Myers is going to hang on. I need to hop off for a planning meeting, but if there are any questions, yeah, feel free to reach out.
Thank you, Amy. That was super, super helpful. That was a lot of information too. If anybody needs to reach out to Amy, and I can also provide her contact. But yeah, so that was a lot of good info, a lot of good upcoming webinars starting tomorrow too. So thank you so much for sharing all that information. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and get started with our first presentation. Jax, are you ready?
Sure, I'm ready, and I am sharing my desktop. Is that coming through?
Yes, I can see that.
Okay, great. So Caddy reached out to me and said, hey, cybersecurity is big in the news today, and can you do a cybersecurity asset management type of presentation? And I kind of scratched my head with that one sentence of guidance and said, sure, let's give this a try. And 2 years ago, I would have thought it was impossible. And then the last couple of years and the year I've been really working on as part of the asset management group. A little bit about me. Apparently, the space bar mutes and doesn't move the slides. A quick agenda, and I know I've got 20 minutes with 10 minutes of questions, and I'll see if I can't shave a couple of minutes off of this without talking faster to cram it all in. So I might be skipping a couple of slides, but safety moment, I'm going to introduce myself, talk a bit about a purpose, compare and contrast asset management with cyber. Ultimately, that kind of comes down to risk management. And again, I'll open it up for questions and discussion towards the end of it. Black and Veatch embraces safety, try to work safety into every single meeting on that, and being a cyber related and really kind of for all of our home users wanted to make sure that we're cyber secure at home because we are working at home more often. Your home router, some people call it their modem. This is where your internet comes into your house and it connects to that very first box, whether that's cable or fiber or your phone company. You want to reboot that frequently. A good way that I like to do it at home is I've got one of those little $5 timers that you plug into the receptacle and I turn it off between, for me, 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. There's no reason for me to have internet access between 1 and 3 a.m. every night. The kids aren't really happy, but you know, it's okay. There's firmware that's inside of there, whether that's Cisco or Linksys or a bunch of them. Check to make sure that gets updated annually. There's remote administration. You want to deactivate that. There's a default admin password that comes with it. You definitely want to change that, maybe even change it annually and change your Wi-Fi password annually to help kind of kick the neighbors out of it. CISA, which is the Department of Homeland Security for Critical Infrastructure Security Agency, they've got a lot of great tips. There are some warnings out there that the nation states, aka Russia and China, are successfully hacking and sending information from people's homes routers to them, and they're capturing those streams of data that are going across. So just a quick safety moment for IT wise. I already introduced myself. I'm me. I've been with Black and Veatch for 6 years, technology management and Navy nuclear. I consider myself a water professional first and then a computer nerd second. I wanted to share a cybersecurity approach, kind of compare that to the asset management approach. And then that really got interesting because I started doing asset management assessments that included cyber, and we found some great correlations that I'm looking forward to share that with you. So why does asset management matter? Again, I realize I'm preaching to the choir here. So asset management, according to ISO 55000, improved financial performance, better investment decisions, managed risk, that's going to become a theme today, improved services and social outputs. On cybersecurity, kind of breaks into three things. We want to monitor and control the confidentiality, the integrity, and the accessibility of the data that we're trying to protect. That's all nice and pretty. What's the real reason that we do asset management in cyber? And on the left, we don't want big booms like this to happen on our watch, as far as we want to optimize our use of our assets, but we don't want to make that too thin that something horrible happens. And then on the right-hand side of the screen is the horrible things that happen in cyber. Florida in 2020 paid $600,000 ransom for a city. And this is after they had already paid $940,000 to rebuild their entire computer network to make it more secure. It can still happen. And then even worse, while stealing money is bad and certainly not nearly as bad as explosions or people dying, don't forget, computers are more and more infiltrating their way into that critical infrastructure. And in February of this year, the Friday before Super Bowl, the city right next to Tampa Bay, where the Super Bowl was held, they got into their water treatment facility. Bad people did, changed chemical feed rates, and could have potentially injured people. And as computers continue to move into the process control world or the OT world, that really does happen. A couple of statistics I wanted to throw out here. In 2019, there were 106 ransomware attacks on city and county governments US-wide. About 6% of those paid the ransom. In 2020, there were 71, and there were about 12% that paid the ransom. Interestingly, in 2019, probably one of the more popular ones was the city of Baltimore. Got ransomware, did not pay the $75,000 ransom that was asked for, and ultimately ended up paying $18 million to recover from it. And that's why people pay the ransom sometimes. And I would encourage you, don't pay the ransom. You're going to pay that $18 million or your recovery costs anyway. Quick look to see if anybody's raised their hands. So copyrights belong to the owners. On compare and compress, I'm going to show your own book back to you. I presume that that's okay, and I'm not violating any copyright by doing that from the Institute of Asset Management. And on the cybersecurity side is the NIST, which is the National Institute of Standards and Technology. That is a division underneath the Department of Commerce. This is your federal tax dollars at work. They go back 100 years, and when people were fighting about how much an ounce of gold weighs or a kilogram really is, they set up those standards, and that includes methods and methodologies. Specifically, the screenshots I'm going to be showing you are the special publication 800-53, which is security and privacy controls for information systems and organizations. And if you kind of get lost in the slides, basically all the color slides are the pretty volunteer ones, and the boring black and white or blue and white ones are the federal government. IAM takes a multi-tiered approach to risk management with your corporate at the top, managing that asset portfolio, and move on down to that, manage those assets and systems, and then individual assets over their life cycles. Inside of cybersecurity, also strategic risk, in that you've got organization, mission and business processes again, and then that stack of information systems that are down below those. And we want to manage the risk all the way across that. On your asset management life cycle, at the top, customers, legislation, investors, commercial environment comes into an organizational plan. You got people, strategy, and planning coming into a life cycle of acquire, operate, maintain, and finally dispose, rinse and review towards the next side. In cybersecurity life cycle, very similar. Again, at the top, you've got laws, directive, policies, guidance, strategic goals from your businesses and from the entire organization. Let's categorize those information systems about which ones are particularly critical and how well I want to try to protect those. And we're going to spend a little bit of time on the next one, step 2, which is select those security controls, which you can see the little quote for SP 853 that we're going to do a little deeper dive into. Once I've picked out how I want to protect my system, I actually have to implement it and do it. Once I've implemented, let's assess those security controls. Let's make sure that everything is authorized. Let's go into a monitoring mode, rinse and repeat to categorize again. Nice little circle. So inside of asset management, that breaks into subject groups for you. This was kind of interesting. I'd never taken this deep of a dive. No point in just a quick summary of the 6 groups: strategy and planning, asset management decision-making, lifecycle delivery, asset information, organization and people, and then risk and review. And the document does a deep dive into each one of those, and I'll spare you that. But moving over to the cybersecurity side, while you've got 6 subjects, we have 16 control families. And if you start, and I'm going to go ahead and read these to you, but you start thinking about what do I need to do to control access or protect my information systems. Access control is about how do I control my access to my computer systems. Awareness and training, where I tell people don't click on bad links. You've got access, and clicking on that link is going to give them that access. I want to do internal audits and hold people accountable. I want to do assessments on the authorization and monitoring of my systems. There's a little warning when you turn on your business computer that says, we're watching you. Configuration management, also known as change management. Hey, I'm going to swap out this computer. I'm going to add a software, much the same way you're going to add a piece of hardware, and there's some change management that has to come along with that. Who approves it? What's the testing that has to happen? Contingency planning, long term, something really, really bad happens. What am I going to do to continue to use my computer systems? Identification and authentication. How do I prove that I'm Jacques? And then how do I have access to the things that I have access to? Who authenticates me to get access to that information once I've proven who I am? Incident response, these are in alphabetical order, by the way. Incident response is more of what happens in this moment, right? I have the sudden catastrophe that's happened. How do I'm monitoring if something bad's happened? How do I detect that it's happening? Who do I notify? How do I respond to that? And then how do I ultimately recover? Maintenance, very similar to you. While the IT world lives in a lot of dots and dashes and I's and O's or ones and zeros, there are physical servers that exist that need fire suppression systems, that need battery backup systems, that need the batteries to be maintained, fire suppression systems, dust. So there are physical maintenance activities that need to happen. Media protection, that hard drive that's inside of your laptop or computer or the backup tapes, those need to be protected. We don't want anybody stealing data coming from there. Physical and environment protection, and while I've talked about maintenance, that talks about what is the temperatures I need, what are the fire suppressions that I actually need, what humidity levels do I keep them at. Planning, very similar to asset management. Got to bring this all together in a cybersecurity plan or an asset management plan. Who's responsible? What's the governance? Who's got the authority to approve or not approve changes to the entire system? Program management. I've got my cybersecurity system plan. I'm at this level. I want to get here, and we're going to rinse and repeat. It's a continuous program that goes on. Personnel security. This isn't about protecting the people from the computers. This is about protecting the computer from bad people. Background checks upon hiring, shaking your finger in their face when they leave, saying don't take data with you, and if you do, we're going to do bad things or file suits. PII processing and transparency. If I'm holding your personally identifiable information, which NIST defines as name, home address, email address. If you have these things together, you're holding PII, and you're obligated to know that, acknowledge that. And if it gets lost or goes to somebody that it's not supposed to, you're obligated to tell the people that we've lost it. Risk assessment, exactly what it says. Again, also happens on the asset management side. We're going to do a little deeper dive in a moment here. System service and acquisition. How do I buy computers? How do I get all the same brands so that I can have the same support levels? System and communication protection. This is your firewalls, your networks, and fun stuff like that. System and information integrity. And whether that's a asset management thing of, hey, we've done this work order. That work order really did get done. That data that's in there is accurate. And somebody actually goes from soup to nuts to make sure that information is accurate occasionally, right? And supply chain risk management hit the news big recently where SolarWinds got hacked, and SolarWinds was pushing out software updates that had malware in it because they had been hacked. Let's do a deeper dive on access control, because much the same way that yours, there are many subsections under each one of those sections, and I just picked out access control and 25 concepts around that: account management, access reinforcement, separation of duties, least privilege, right? I don't want to have people that can create invoices, be able to, or people to accept bills, be the same people that deposit bills into the account. Least privilege, I only give as much access to the people I need to. Not everybody has access to everything. Count successful login attempts, and so on. Remote access, number 17, kind of on the right-hand side. Certainly big in the news because remote access is what, poor remote access controls is what changed the chemicals of that water plant in Florida. On and on and on. The other thing that's nice about NIST and the cybersecurity side is they acknowledge that it's not a one-size-fits-all. And they have low levels of protection, moderate level of protection, and high level of protection. And not only that, you can tailor those, and they, being the NIST, provides an overlay for different genres, aka banking, industrial control systems, healthcare, because NIST takes care of everybody, right, nationwide. So an example of that is, and I realize this is a bit of an eye chart, but here's access control, and on the right-hand side, it says low, moderate, and high, and this is NIST recommendations of, if you just want a low, these are the only ones that you have to do. If you want moderate level of control over it, these are the ones that you want to do. If you want a high level of control, you go even farther down. And so while access control had 25 areas, you can see here under access 2, there's another dozen or so that goes even deeper dive into that. If you were to ask every single question on every single thing inside of NIST, it's about 700 questions. Back on the asset management side, now that we've set this is where we want to be, how do I measure my performance? Checking on my time, and I'm doing okay. You've got leading indicators and lagging indicators, things that have actually happened versus assessments that you're doing continuously, rinse and repeating that. Cyber has something very similar to that called security assurance, which is kind of the bubble on the right, evidence on the bottom, which talks about flaws and remediations and challenges that have happened even to other people. Then pushing that information goes over to the requirements, the capability, and the functionality, and ultimately comes up to what 53 or NIST 853 calls trustworthiness. You come up with a score that way. I'm going to use that as a score called vulnerability. And again, this is all customizable. So there's kind of a quick dive between the two master documents between cybersecurity and risk or asset management. And I wanted to do a deeper dive on risk management or risk assessments. And for here, I'm going to run over to the America Water Works Association J100's document J100, which is Risk Analysis and Management for Critical Access Protection, RAMCAP standard. It's been around for 20 years, and they specifically tailored it for water and wastewater management systems. The summary for this is how you measure risk, and AWWA, or the J100 standard, measures risk in dollars per year as a mathematical formula of consequence of dollar per event for an asset threat pair, how vulnerable am I to that event, and the likelihood, which is events per year. So consequence times vulnerability times likelihood is dollar per year risk. And I put these in two different lines because in asset management, consequence and vulnerability gets rolled up into one, and I think it's typically called impact. And again, likelihood is also used straight across. So here's a really, really quick example. Again, I'm a water employee, so I'm going to pick an elevated water tank that was hit by a tornado. And apparently didn't make my chart big enough, but anyway, consequence. But the elevated tank gets hit by a tornado. It's going to be completely destroyed. It's $2 million worth of damage. How vulnerable are we to that? And this is really one of the levers that we can pull on. So vulnerability, you start discussing, do I have cameras? Is it a chain link fence? Is it a masonry fence? Can I detect that somebody is there doing something? Can I delay them from doing it, and can I respond in an opportunity to be able to stop them? And that not quite condition assessment, but certainly the condition of those physical barriers for this physical example is a portion of that. I randomly picked a number of 50% vulnerable. It's a chain link fence. Yeah, it's well lit, well lighted, and there are it's in a residential neighborhood, just for example. So between detect, delay, and respond, yeah, about 50% of how vulnerable we are into that. And then likelihood would be occurrences per year, once every 10 years, talking to the police department, the different neighborhoods, that once every 10 years we think, or for tornadoes, I'm sorry, once every 10 years we think a tornado is going to do that. And on the, I was already on Saboteur, so tornado, how vulnerable are we? How strong is the concrete? How strong is the steel that's holding it up? And have discussions about, can I handle a tornado? When we could even get more detailed about that's an F1, 2, 3, 4, F5 tornado likelihood. So that basically comes out to 2 million times 0.5 times 0.1, or a tenth of a million, or 100K a year in risk. Not that that's what you should be insuring, but as a pure measurement. Elevated tank for a saboteur. This is a person with a pickup truck with oxyacetylene torches, and he decides he's going to knock that tank down. The tank is still completely destroyed. We're 80% vulnerable because we don't have very much. There's just a chain link fence and no cameras, and yeah, there's some lighting, and yeah, it's a residential neighborhood, but we don't really think they're going to call. And once every 20 years, there's pretty significant vandalism that happens inside of the neighborhood, comes to a 0.08 million. And then really the magic for me was, let's do this for the cybersecurity side. We've got our enterprise system. We've got ransomware, which is the equivalent of basically a skull and flaming crossbones that say, give us Bitcoins. How much is that going to take us to recover from? I can justify that 10 million number. Like I said, Baltimore paid 18 million. That number is going to vary on the number of servers and clients that they have, how vulnerable they are. So while I did that assessment, so we talked about all these topics. We're going to talk about cyber vulnerability here in a moment. How often does this happen? At least once a year. They are trying every day to try to get some kind of virus on me. Therefore, a risk per year at 5 million a year. And then SCADA unauthorized access. How much did Oldsmar, Florida pay for their response? Don't really know yet. Let's just say that's $1 million. Katie, you're raising your hand. What can I do for you? Am I running out of time?
Yeah, you're almost there for 10:30 for Ari to begin his presentation.
Okay.
Just wanted to give you that. Let you know.
All right. 5 minutes. I'll wrap up in less than 5 minutes. So how do we get to vulnerability? Those the American Water Works Association has come out with cybersecurity risk assessment tool, which is basically based on capability maturity model. And while 853's got 700 questions, and you certainly could go through all that, AWWA boiled it down nicely to 100 questions, and there's really only 4 answers. How capable are we? This doesn't apply to me. This technology doesn't apply. I'm not planning. I'm never going to do this. I accept the risk. Planned but not implemented, partially implemented, or fully implemented. And those controls also get prioritized 1 through 4. And depending on how far you are, you can turn that number into that vulnerability. The other part that tracks really well is you add all those up. There's my total risk score. You plot that on a graph. And again, this is impact on the left, probability or likelihood on the right. You see or on the bottom, I'm sorry, red is bad, blue is good. And what can I do in my continuous process to improve? Another way to present that is how much budget spend I am spending on. This is what I would spend on reactionary or bad things that happen to respond to that. And then I'm lowered my risk with the budget spend across these years. Very, very similar to optimizing the frequency of planned maintenance of, hey, there's this nice curve that comes along. What's that sweet spot for my spend? So in summary, asset management optimizes asset spend, and cyber programs optimize risk spend, utilizing very similar concepts. And with that, I wanted to open it up to discussion. Thank you all for your time and attendance, and happy to answer any questions or move right on to the next presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Jacques. That was a really good presentation. I myself learned a lot here, actually. So, does anyone have any questions before we move on to the next presentation? You do have any questions, make sure you unmute yourself, raise your hands, type it on the chat.
And I'll be on even after the next presentation. So if you want to think of something later, be happy to answer it later. Thank you for the opportunity to present. I appreciate it. Again, I hope it was helpful and you learned a couple things, and happy to help with anything I can help with.
Yeah. Jacques, will you mind just maybe providing your contact info on the chat so that if people want to reach out to you directly, they can. That way you can just put your contact there, and then I'll ask probably Ari to do the same after your presentation. All right, well, going once, going twice. Ari, please go ahead and begin your presentation.
All right. So let's see. Get the IT thing sorted out. Can everybody see the presentation?
Yes.
All right. Well, first off, thank you for the invitation and happy St. Patty's Day to those that are celebrating.
That's true. Yes.
So, and second off, I just want to say how appreciative I am of this opportunity and how great it is to see so many friends, colleagues, teaming partners, clients, in attendance today. I think I saw we've got over 40 attendees, and thank you, Kathy, for setting this up, for getting the invitations out, and for doing the introductions. I think that's really helpful when we do these types of in-person things. I typically like to do kind of like a show of hands. Who's on the technology side, a solutions provider, who's a utility owner, and who's on the consulting side. So it was really good to get a sense and a good feel. And I'm happy to see that we have so many, from different sides of the coin, especially with kind of utility owners that can speak to their firsthand experience, implementing condition assessments and asset management. So. Just a quick agenda, breeze through introductions, really talk about field condition assessments and how we use asset management-based approaches to them. We'll go through a couple of case studies, which a number of you out there will be intimately familiar with, and talk about some lessons learned, and then if time permits, Q&A. So first, we kind of did an introduction on myself earlier. But many of you might be wondering, who is Hope Consulting? So we're a small growing firm based in Southern California, doing work throughout California and elsewhere into the Southwest. Founded in 2012, so we're nearing our 10-year mark. We really are a full-service civil engineering firm, working in the water, wastewater, recycle water, stormwater, into the transportation side of things, everything from planning, assessments, renewal recommendations, design engineering, CM, inspection, grant funding support, and then even some owner's rep and staff augmentation services. Our mission is really to provide high quality, cost effective, practical engineering, design, and management solutions. And even as a small firm, we've really proven ourselves by providing and completing some really high profile community shaping projects around our area. So I lead things on the condition assessment and asset management and renewal side of things. So, it's great to be talking to an audience of so many seasoned professionals, and we're not really having to explain what does asset management or condition assessment mean. But I did want to touch on that a little bit in terms of, to me, asset management, the terms can be thrown around a lot these days, and the meanings can vary whether you're a utility owner, a practitioner, an executive, a manager, a technology or solution provider, a consultant, and it also varies depending on what industry you're in. I sat in, thank you, Amy and the IAM team, on the New York City branch meeting last night, actually, and it was great to hear them because they're, water was kind of a focus area of the meeting yesterday, but previously or mostly, I think their group is focused on the transportation side of things. And as I was hearing some introductions earlier today, I understand that today it seems like we've got a lot of folks focused maybe on the water, wastewater side of things, but I heard Chris at the port, others at cities that might have multidisciplinary aspects to their asset management program, whether it be on the wet water utilities, the dry utilities, the power. We heard somebody from SoCal Gas. So I think these meetings can really vary depending on what industry you're in. Again, if you're in private industry and manufacturing or in public, and I think that we've got a lot to learn from each other. Domestically, overseas. So I thank the IAM for this opportunity to bring us all together and learn from one another. In my experience with Hope Consulting and my previous firm, which is Brown and Caldwell, I've really found asset management and condition assessment to be really closely related and intertwined and dependent upon one another. I think of asset management as more general, programmatic, all-encompassing, whereas condition assessment I see to be more acute and more focused. At the end of the day, they're working together to help utility owners make informed decisions and maximize the value and the life of the infrastructure and answer questions. We can all make these things be really complex, but at the end of the day, we're trying to answer some pretty simple questions. What action do I take and where, when, and how much is this going to cost? And so we factor that into our approaches for condition assessments. And just a general observation is everyone's at a different point in their asset management and condition assessment programs, and I call them journeys. That is okay. I think we're past the point where someone has never heard of those terms, not to say whether they've implemented them, but at least there's an awareness. And some of the things we've seen and preaching to the choir here is, sometimes a utility owner might not have a formal asset management program, but they know, or they think they know, which are their highest risk assets and where should we be spending our time and money focus on. Others are doing condition assessment activities, but they might be siloed and fragmented, and they don't have a centralized program to house and store that data and analyze that data. Others have an asset management program, and we're able to look at that and say, hey, we've got a gap in our program. Let's go, our gap in our data. Let's go and do focus condition assessments. So that's just some of our general observations doing work in this space. The two case studies we'll talk about. Thank you, Michael Hindle, for joining today. We'll talk about Padre Dam Municipal Water District here in San Diego that we're working with and are currently working with. And this utility, they're planning for a future asset management program. They've got a history of some previous pipeline failures and are starting a condition assessment program. So we'll go through some of the lessons learned and how we're integrating asset management into that approach. And then good to see Mike Zachariah out there and others who'd be familiar with the work that I've done in the previous firm for the city of Roseville, where there was no formal asset management program in place, but a really active and well-maintained CMMS. And the task and challenge was to do a comprehensive condition assessment of the two wastewater treatment facilities. And comprehensive, and basically that's the direction, ready, set, go across all assets. So again, we'll look and talk about that common theme. So just a quick overview of Padre Dam. Serves a population of over 100,000, provides water, wastewater, recycled water, varying assets including treatment plants, pumping stations, reservoirs, pipelines, over 700 million in assets, an annual operating budget of 75 million. Ultimately pursuing an asset management program with some directive from executive leadership and board to be more proactive in how we manage assets. And so it did kind of decide that let's first focus on the potable water transmission system, which is 300 miles of pipelines ranging all the way up to 60-inch in diameter. And so using sound asset management principles, the district did a pipeline risk prioritization, try to get a handle on kind of what is where, have a good asset registry, get all sound asset management principles. But then they've been investigating, but not yet deployed, high resolution inline inspection tools like the one we're showing there on the screen. So this project was really the first time to do condition assessment from the planning and on these high risk pipelines, planning and then implementation. So, one of the challenges big challenges with these types of programs is how and where do we inspect to maximize the value of district budget, ratepayer money, to understand the condition of the highest risk pipelines. So certain ones, like the one we've got up on the screen, there's kind of a lot going on there, but certain pipelines or portions thereof, it's pretty, we can use asset management principles to guide us in this decision, but some of them really float to the top, such as this pipeline in particular, which is dates back to the 1960s, is located underneath an interstate, history of a couple breaks in the area. We look at the materials of construction. And so for the project, select the top 5 highest risk pipelines, do some desktop evaluations, again, in line with sound asset management principles, do some condition assessment planning and some budgeting to figure out, okay, how are we going to access these pipes? What tools, what technologies? And then really drilled it down even further into selecting 2 pipelines to do a variety of indirect inspections, where we could cover a lot of ground, collect a lot of data, and then direct where do we spend the big dollars, which are doing the high resolution inline inspections. And so the team successfully implemented the indirect assessments, doing soil testing, close interval surveys, corrosivity analysis, and identify some areas where the pipelines are at risk. And then we decide, kind of, okay, where are we going to go do the more high resolution inline inspections? And you can see on the screen, the blue arrow shows where the pipeline crosses underneath I-8. And for those that have done inline inspections, that one of the big tricks and the challenges is how to get the tools in and out of the pipeline. These tools collect really high resolution data, especially for metallic pipelines. But they can be really challenging to get in and out of the pipe safely and minimize impacts to customers. And the more we dug, the more we got into the details and the planning, the more challenges we faced and the more the cost to deploy the technology, and really it was related to getting the tools in and out, started to come to increase. And it forced us to make some difficult decisions. I mean, on one hand, we're just thinking, condition assessment, got to go, got to do it. Want to try out the tools and technologies, but on the other, we're looking at, what are the costs? And I think using an asset management based approach helped us, kind of zoom out and look at, what's the best course of action. So we think about it from, condition assessment alone does not reduce the consequence of an asset's failure. What condition assessment will do is tell us some data on the likelihood that it would fail. And if it's in good condition, then the overall risk of that asset can be reduced. But it doesn't do anything to change the consequence. That pipeline is still located underneath the interstate. So again, stepping back and looking at it from an asset management and really a utility management standpoint, the team made a difficult decision, but I think the right decision was we knew enough from the indirect assessment data to tell us that really it was time to start planning to replace the pipelines that cross the interstate rather than perform more in-pipe assessment. And, a lesson learned, something I'd share with the group is I kind of go by a 25% rule of thumb. If you're going to spend 25% of the replacement value to do condition assessment, you're really getting close where you should be thinking about maybe moving straight towards the renewal or replacement. And in this case, relocating the pipeline has the benefit of reducing the consequence of failure and then, of course, the likelihood of failure. So next case study we'll talk about are doing comprehensive condition assessment of 2 wastewater treatment facilities. These combined have a total treatment capacity of over 30 million gallons a day and serve a population of 200,000 people. The original construction dates back to the 1970s. And, the big challenge here was, comprehensive condition assessment of these facilities, which included buildings, structures, pipelines, mechanical equipment, electrical equipment, you name it. So the approach really relied on the approach to doing condition assessment really relied on asset management principles, with the focus on avoiding surprises, maximizing the value of the condition assessment monies, and then establishing a good path going forward. So the overall goal was collect actionable data and then identify prioritized projects. And I think one of the ways that we looked at it was kind of three-phase. One is let's do the condition assessment planning. Two, let's go out and do the condition assessments. And then three, let's do the renewal planning projects costs. But all the while, we structured everything so that it was set, the data was set to be delivered in a form that could be ingested and integrated into a future asset management program. And that all relied on this asset database that we maintained and updated. And one thing from a lesson learned standpoint, especially utilities out there that have well-maintained and utilized CMMS, is a lot of times those systems are fantastic, but they can really focus on, say, like the mechanical equipment, and they might overlook submerged or buried assets or structures, piping, basins, channels that are really difficult to inspect, and if they fail, they can fail catastrophically and are very difficult and costly to replace. So that was one of the challenges with this project, and one of the solutions and approaches that we brought is, hey, let's really work on that asset database, and let's make sure we capture everything so that the CMMS and the asset database could be updated then with all this good baseline condition data. So this is kind of one of my favorite graphics that we use to sort of explain the way we approach this project. So as I mentioned, we kind of put all the assets into the funnel, and then we developed an approach to do with the idea to maximize the value of the condition assessment monies. We decided on a three-step approach, or three-level approach for assessments. One is desktop. And I don't think I have to explain desktop evaluations to this group. Two was on-site visual. Level two is on-site visual inspections. And level three were the on-site physical inspections, and I'll get into that and kind of explain it a little bit. But at each step along the way, we put all the assets in, everything. We performed a desktop evaluation on all the assets in the project. And we looked at, based on what we could learn from work orders and as-builts and conversations with staff, do we know enough now based on condition and consequence of failure that we could make a recommendation to either repair or renew the asset, or have the utility continue to maintain and monitor condition of that asset? Or did we not have enough information and we need to prioritize for additional evaluation? In this case, going from level one desktop to level two to the visual assessments. And so with each step along the way, we looked at, do we have enough information? Do we need to collect more? And as we move down the funnel, the cost for those evaluations increase. So I think level one count, we were up around 1,000 assets. And then as we worked our way down, we would prioritize so that we could select what assets to go do. In this case, the level two assessments, we were 2 weeks of site visits, doing visual observations, non-destructive testing, just relative, no confined space entries, not taking equipment or basins or pipelines out of service, just doing a kind of rapid visual, and then using mobile tablets to document all that data live in the field and update that asset database. And then we'd go back to the office, process all that information, and do another prioritization, update the risk assessment database, and then decide, okay, as a group, decide where are we going to go do these level 3 physical inspections. That was the biggest part of the project. We did 7 weeks of on-site work for the physical assessments. We had a pipeline inspection contractor, a general contractor, concrete materials testing specialist, metallic and coatings specialist. So really a multidisciplinary team. To complement for level 2, we also had a multidisciplinary team with structural engineers, architects, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, civil engineers, to really be going and doing the assessments across all the different asset classes. So I'll give you a couple snapshots of just some of the work that we were doing out in the field. This is an example of some of the level 2 inspections where we're using those mobile platforms to get, you know, hands-on on all the assets selected. And then we were able to use some tools and technologies to avoid having to do confined space entries, yet still collect meaningful data on, you know, structures that you didn't want to have to do a confined space entry in unless you really had to. And then when we got into the level 3, this is where it was really involved, and we were shutting down portions of the plant, creating flow diversions, getting in, taking concrete core samples, working with our metals and coating specialists to assess the condition of metallic materials, exposing, you know, buried assets and doing some hands-on non-destructive testing to understand, you know, condition of assets that are, you know, not in the CMMS, that condition were unknown. And then the results, we grouped the assets into the assets that needed renewing into projects, prepared construction cost estimates, came up with a implementation schedule, and prioritized the projects. We identified, you know, 34 million in capital projects over the course of 15 years. But one of the things that I think was a particular value, aside from just coming up with the prioritized list of capital projects, was identifying which assets should be inspected again in the future and the duration, you know, the time frame of when they should be. And then, as I mentioned earlier, is we structured the deliverables to all be digital and a database that could then be integrated one day into the future asset management program. So a couple quick lessons learned. I think we've got 5 minutes left. So, you know, early definition of what is an asset is key. You know, we found, you know, we did some of the desktop evaluations. We thought I had our arms around all of what the assets were. When we went out into the field to do the level 2 visual assessments, you know, we kept saying, oh, there's another asset. Well, we should inspect that too. So, and to do that, we came up with a method using the digital, the mobile collection devices and the app that we built for this project in particular, where we could add assets, document their condition, do the ratings and the scorings right there in the field. But so I think that upfront planning and getting your arms around that asset registry, again, I'm probably preaching to the choir on that being a key element, but it was. The other piece was, you know, interviews with staff, especially the O&M personnel, was just a must. I mean, there's a wealth of information, and capturing that information and getting it documented and stored so that it becomes part of that baseline condition data and then can be used by future, you know, in future efforts, future staff. Digital collection of the field data really increased our efficiency as well as our accuracy. So, you know, at the end of each day, we were able to kind of compare notes. We weren't trying to look, you know, a couple weeks down the line, well, this was a photo of what? Which asset did it match up to? It was all right then and there. And the result is that it really maximized the value of the subject matter experts' time in the field, as well as the city's budget for the task. Opportunistic condition assessments, I'm a huge fan. Take advantage of facility shutdowns, you know, planned outages, to get in there and do the assessment work when you can. And then this was another one I wanted to highlight is, you know, to do some of the assessments, it was a pretty huge lift to do a flow diversion or take a basin out of service or take a pipeline down. And having a team on board, which included general contractors and material specialists, we we recommended, and the city accepted it, to include a budget for like a field order allowance to do find and fix. So, you know, if there was a minor repair that we could fix and do while we were there, right, with the assessment, I think that's a good tip, something I'd share with the group, you know, to consider incorporating into your condition assessment projects, is this find and fix opportunity. And of course, you know, communication and safety was key. Communication all throughout the project, especially while we're out in the field doing the field work, along with safety. And then the operations team really benefited. We asked some difficult questions and asked, you know, to get into certain structures that had never been accessed, which I should have known, you know, when an operator tells you, I've never been in that before, I don't think we can, what the types of things we're going to find. But the operations team, you know, said, hey, we really appreciated that, and now we know we can do that, and we can build that into a regular preventative maintenance cycle. So as we wrap here, my clock says we've got about 2 minutes. I wanted to tie back this theme of, you know, kind of using asset management principles and approaches to really direct the field condition assessments and maximize the value of those project budgets. And I think with that, I will wrap up. There's my contact info and some, I'm not sure if I'm able to see if we've received any questions, Kathy.
Yeah, I actually just reached out to Callum to be able to open up the chat capability. I'm not able to.
Okay, I got it.
To see it, unfortunately. I don't know. Callum, are you still here on our? Are you still here with us?
Hi, Kathy. Yes, I am. Yep, I just checked that all for you.
Okay.
The chat function should be open.
I don't really see it.
Oh, Susan, you have a question? See a hand up?
Yeah, while you guys are getting the chat, I just wanted to thank you, Ari, for the presentation. As you know, Valicitos is about to embark on inspection of a sewer outfall that we haven't looked at ever since it was built, and Hoke is doing that for us. And I just really wanted to thank you for the presentation, because it just really wraps it all together, how your approach is, and really it reinforces it's a really solid approach. And I appreciate the fact that and can attest to the fact that you guys definitely look at cost effectiveness. And then I appreciated the point about the, you know, fix it as you're in the asset, and it's something that we'll want to be keeping in mind. But thank you for that really concise and clear presentation on how the condition assessments are really critical before you just embark on fixing things or putting them in an asset management plan. And also the little tidbit about the 25% on the, you know, the when you should assess or just go ahead and fix something. So thank you. Great presentation.
Thanks, Susan.
Yeah, it's Andy here, and yeah, I said the same. Great job, Ari. And just a quick question, if it's okay, on some of the technologies that you deployed for Padre Dam. Can you? And I know this is a bit of an open-ended question, but can you give us a taste on what you were using in terms of inspection technologies?
Yeah, so you know, full credit to the team at HDR, is the one of the consultants, the prime consultant that the district's working with, and their corrosion team was doing the indirect assessments. So looking at, you know, close interval saying surveys, soil samples, EMAG, and then as far as, you know, investigations of the inline inspections, we looked at a host of things, and the two, you know, kind of front runners for inline inspection with electromagnetics was both, you know, Pure, Xylem, and Pika, and their service offerings.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ari. That's good.
Sure, Andy.
That was a great presentation, Ari and Jax. That was really good. Very well done, actually. So kudos to both of you. I know it's 11:03. Some people have already had to unfortunately leave, but yeah, Callum and I will keep working on trying to make sure for next time we get the chat feature open. But if not, what I'll do, and I'd like to ask you both, Ari and Jax, to PDF and I guess send that to me, your presentation, so that I can send that to Callum, and that way your presentations as well as this recording is available for the rest of the group. Make sure your contact, I know, Ari, you had your contact in. Jax, put your contact in it so people can, reach out to you if anybody in our group or outside of our meeting today, other people interested in your topics might want to reach out to you. So thank you guys. Happy St. Patty's Day to you all. So great opportunities. So we'll be doing this again in a few more months. I would like to thank you everyone for being here. Does anybody else have any questions for anyone, for myself? Going once, going twice. Okay, well, great. Have a good rest of your day, you guys. Good presentations, you guys. Kudos on that. I will be reaching out to, I guess, as a general email, if anybody is interested in presenting for in about probably like 2 months from here. We're talking about maybe like maybe May, June time frame. Typically, I use the chat for that reason, or topics that you are interested to hear for our next meeting. I will just send an email, a blast. I'll send an e-blast to you guys, and just respond to that. But we'll be coordinating. Any questions, feel free to reach out to me, reach out to Martin, to Amy, now that you guys have her contact, if you want to reach out directly to her. I am your point of contact here in San Diego, as well as Martin Cahill. So thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Have a good day, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Caddy. Well done, Ari.
Thanks, Andy.